Good day, everyone, and welcome to today's Border Czar Kamala Harris press call. At this time, all participants are in a listen-only mode. Later, you'll have an opportunity to ask questions during the question and answer session, and you may register to ask a question at any time by pressing star 1 on your telephone keypad. You may withdraw yourself from the queue by pressing star 2. Please note that this call is being recorded, and I will be standing by should you need any assistance. It is now my pleasure to turn the conference over to Stephen Chung, Communications Director for the Trump campaign. Please.
Good afternoon. My name is Stephen Chung. I'm the Communications Director for the campaign. I'd like to thank you all for joining us on today's call to discuss the failed record of Border Czar Kamala Harris. We look forward to taking a few questions as time allows following initial remarks. As a reminder, this call is being recorded and everything is on the record. To discuss this, we're excited to be joined by President Donald J. Trump, as well as Border Patrol Union President Paul Perez and immediate past President Brandon Judd. First, we'll hear from Brandon Judd.
Thank you, Stephen. President Trump, it's always good to be with you. We've done many events and never done one like this. Good outside the box thinking. Always good to be with you. I really appreciate the members.
Thank you.
Thank you, President. I really appreciate the members of the media being here. I don't want to speak for President Trump. I don't want to speak for Paul, but I firmly believe that we all want to have an honest conversation about an issue that is important to not only Border Patrol agents, but to millions upon millions of U.S. citizens. And due to such, I will speak my mind, and frankly, Vice President Kamala Harris's actions show a complete disregard for border security formed by either political ambition or incompetence. So that I don't get accused of rhetoric, I will back my statement up with facts. As most of you know, my job as the MBPC president was to represent the interests of my agents both politically and officially. While each of you know the MBPC and I have been staunch supporters of President Trump, most don't know why, and context always matters. In 2015, and due to President Obama's second-term failures, we were placed in a situation that we had to wade into presidential politics. We vetted all candidates, including Democrats, and after several interviews, it was clear that that then candidate Trump was the right person for border security. He was open to ideas and never acted like he knew everything. In him, we saw someone that would cut through Washington bureaucracy to implement actual border security policies. And each of you know he drove illegal border crossings to historic lows, not just once, but twice. Fast forward to 2021, and we saw the exact opposite. And because I'm willing to work with any administration on the official side, regardless of preference, I did my best to work with the Biden-Harris administration. In multiple television interviews, I even said I hope Biden succeeds, because if he succeeds, America would succeed. I met with Secretary Mayorkas on several occasions in person and on the phone. And working within the Biden-Harris parameters, I presented several policy proposals that ultimately Vice President Harris shot down. Instead of addressing cartels and the human devastation they cause to migrants and U.S. citizens alike, she tried to explain away the crisis as a climate and political instability issue in the over 160 countries we were seeing people coming from. All we have to do is look at what the New York Times said. In 2022, they cited a figure of $13 billion in cartel revenue, up from $500 million in 2018. For years, independent coyotes paid cartels a tax to move migrants through territory they controlled along the border, and the criminal syndicates stuck to their traditional line of business, drug smuggling, which was far more profitable. It was under Vice President Harris's oversight as border czar that cartel profits skyrocketed. In essence, she excused the cartels, thereby emboldening them to levels we'd never seen before. Her actions have caused a great many deaths and depravity in the U.S. You all know the stories of the rapes and murders of U.S. citizens and the drug poisoning, and that alone should disqualify Vice President Harris in the minds of voters. But what often goes unnoticed is the migrant suffering we see on a daily basis. We see little girls crying nonstop who exhibit the signs of rape and abuse. We see migrants robbed of all their possessions, and I dare say VP Harris has never responded to the scene of an accident caused by a smuggler that leaves people trapped in vehicles to burn to death, or vehicle accidents that leave persons strewn over the road. I have. And what is now a regular occurrence was a very rare occurrence under President Trump. VP Harris knows the solutions, but she refuses to implement them. implement them, leaving me to conclude she is either politically power-hungry for the base support or she is dangerously incompetent. I've concluded it's both. The contrast is clear. President Trump has been there and done that, and is obviously the right choice for the millions upon millions of U.S. citizens who want a secure border. These are facts, not rhetoric, and I look forward to any questions you might have.
Thank you, Brandon. Next, I will turn it over to Paul Perez.
Thank you. It's always good to be with President Trump, the best president that we've had in my lifetime. I have served under 5 presidents in my 27-year career, and I can tell you by far President Trump has done the most for this country and definitely for border security. Under President Trump, we had a total of 1.7 million encounters. Under Biden in his term, we have had almost 10 million encounters, 1.8 million gotaways. That is people that crossed the border that we were not able to apprehend and determine who they were. They are in this country illegally, and because of the amount of people that this administration has allowed into the country, there is very little possibility that we will be able to apprehend them all, although I believe that when Trump becomes president again, he will actually enforce the laws and allow our agents, allow our officers to go in and execute warrants that would actually remove all of these illegal aliens, the criminals especially. And there are tons of criminals that were released into this country. It's a shell game right now. These executive orders that President Biden issued are exactly that, a shell game. They have allowed tens of thousands of people to continue to be released. Catch and release is still going on, even though they've come out and said that they have put a stop. What they did was transfer the amount of people that were releasing from Border Patrol over to the Office of Field Operations. So we are still flying people in from their countries. They're being processed here in the United States and then released into the interior of the country to go on and commit crimes. You guys have all heard about the crime wave that is going on throughout the country, much of it being committed by illegal aliens who were released by this administration. They have come in, been allowed to stay in hotels while our veterans are in the streets. They've been given money. They've been given funds. They've been allowed to work. They have completely ignored Border Patrol agents. They've done things that would make you really upset when you talk to Border Patrol agents on the ground. This incompetence is dangerous. We cannot allow Kamala Harris to be the President of the United States. Otherwise, the border will get even more ridiculous than it is.
Thank you, Paul. And next, I'm excited to introduce President Donald J. Trump. Mr. President.
Well, thank you, Stephen, and thank you, Brandon and Paul. It was very revealing what you said, and I appreciate it, and I think the whole country appreciates it. Kamala Harris was appointed border czar, as you know, in March of 2021, and since that time, millions and millions of illegal aliens have invaded our country, and countless Americans have been killed by migrant crime because of her willful demolition of American borders and laws. Working together with crooked Joe Biden, Kamala Harris supported a radical left policy of nationwide catch and release, halting all deportations, ending Remain in Mexico, so important, shredding my Safe Third agreement, stopping the wall construction. We built hundreds of miles of wall. We had a little bit left to go, and we were going to add another 200 miles in addition, and it was going to be finished in less than 3 weeks, and they didn't want to build it. That's when I first figured that they actually want open borders. Nobody could believe it. And also taking 93 executive actions to throw open our borders to the entire world. And they took these executive actions. Nobody could believe it. As a result of her dangerously extreme immigration policies, the largest invasion in history is now taking place at our southern border, and it's getting worse, not better. They gave it a Band-Aid a few weeks ago, but the Band-Aid has not been working at all. It's made it worse. Last month, it was reported that more than 50 radical Islamic terrorists are loose in the United States after being let go through the open border, right through our open border, and Kamala and Joe Biden have no idea where they are, who they are, or anything about them. I don't think they even care. In her entire time as vice president and border czar, Kamala has reportedly never spoken to the chief of the Border Patrol. You can ask the two gentlemen right now. Probably she's never spoken to him. She visited the border only a single time, far away from the epicenter of the invasion. You don't even call it a visit. She went to a place that has no problem and was there for a very short period of time. So essentially, she never visited the border as we know it. As a senator, Kamala Harris endorsed the radical left crusade to dismantle ICE. And ISIS, these are incredible patriots. These are brave, brave people. Very few people could do a job like that, and she wanted it dismantled. She compared our patriotic ICE agents to members of the KKK. She suggested they were members of the KKK. She supports the total decriminalization of illegal border crossings and making illegal immigration the equivalent of a parking ticket. She raised her hand in favor of giving free taxpayer-funded health care to illegal aliens, but not to our soldiers and our people that have served our country so brilliantly, so valiantly, who are living on the streets. She supports mass amnesty and citizenship for all illegal aliens. She wants everybody to get amnesty, 100%, even if they're criminals, which will obliterate Medicare and Social Security for American seniors. That will be the end of Social Security and Medicare. Kamala Harris also voted in favor of deadly sanctuary cities, which shield illegal alien criminals, murderers, and gang members from deportation and arrest. And as weak-on-crime prosecutor in sanctuary jurisdiction of San Francisco, Kamala refused to seek the death penalty against anybody, no matter how devastating, whether it's MS-13 gang members, no matter how bad the killing was, the murder was, no matter what they did, she refused to have the death penalty. And by the way, I was with a gentleman last night who's leaving San Francisco, a rich man, a successful man, a man that everybody knows very well. He's moving to Palm Beach, Florida. And I said, why? He said, you cannot live in San Francisco. It's not livable, he said. I've never forgotten. I mean, he's not livable. It's a statement I won't forget. 15 years ago, it was one of the greatest cities in the world. And today they say it's not livable and people are fleeing. And it's all, I said, why? He said, she started it when she was the DA. She started it. She's destroyed San Francisco, which is a hell of a thing to do. If she becomes president, Kamala Harris will make the invasion exponentially worse. And just like she did with San Francisco, just like she did with the border, our whole country will be permanently destroyed. So I will terminate every open borders policy of the Biden-Harris administration. On day one, I will seal the border, stop the invasion, and keep America safe. We will make America great again. Thank you all very much. And, Stephen, if they want to take some questions, that's fine with me.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. President. We'll now open the call for questions. We ask that all questions pertain to today's discussion. There'll now be a brief pause to submit your question. Please hold.
And as a reminder, that is star one if you would like to ask a question, and you remove yourself from the queue by pressing star two. Again, that is star one to ask a question. And our first question will come from Bill Melugin with Fox News. Please go ahead.
Mr. President, thank you for your time. If Kamala Harris does end up
Bill
being the Democratic
Mulligan.
Yes, sir.
Go ahead. We got to get the name pronounced right, Bill.
I appreciate it. Yeah, it's all over the place sometimes. If Kamala Harris does end up being the Democrats' nominee, will you commit to debating her at least one time?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I'd want to. I think it's important. I'm not thrilled about ABC because they're truly fake news. I watched last night. They're actually trying to make a hero out of Joe Biden when he was the worst president in history, and they were doing things like with Kamala, like what a wonderful thing it is that she is running. She is not the candidate that they should have. You know it. I know it. We all know it. So, I'm not thrilled with ABC. I guess they commit, but I have at least equal say, and I don't like the idea of ABC. I would be willing to do more than one debate, actually.
And our next question will come from Alex Eisenstadt with Politico.
Hi, Mr. President. Thanks for taking my question.
Hi, Alex.
Hi.
Sure.
First question would be, do you plan on taking another trip to the border sometime during this campaign? And second of all, do you see Kamala Harris as a tougher opponent than Joe Biden?
The answer is yes. I will be taking at least another trip or 2 trips or 3 trips, whatever is necessary. We have it figured out between Tom Homan, the 2 gentlemen on the phone right now, Brandon and Paul, and so many others. We have a lot of knowledge of the border. I've been there many times and built, as you know, hundreds of miles of wall. As far as her as a candidate, I think it's probably similar. I noticed the polls are virtually identical. A poll came out a little while ago. I'm up 11 points, and I think I was up 10 points on Biden. She's the same as Biden, but much more radical. She's a radical left person, and this country doesn't want a radical left person to destroy it. She's far more radical than he is. She wants open borders. She wants things that nobody wants. You take a look at the car mandate, the electric car mandate, everything. Really, what you should do is take a look at San Francisco now compared to before she became the district attorney, and you'll see what she'll do to our country. So I think she should be easier than Biden because he was slightly more mainstream, but not much. Thank you, Alex.
Our next question comes from Matthew Boyle with Breitbart News.
Mr. President, thanks for taking my question. By the way, great round with Bryson DeChambeau. I saw that video earlier. But my question for you...
Oh, that's very good. Thank you.
My question for you here is that a big part of the reason why the Democrats switched to Kamala Harris is they were concerned about the effect that Joe Biden would have on the down-ticket candidates, Senate candidates, House candidates, et cetera. Do you think they're going to end up regretting switching to Kamala Harris here when all is said and done and November 5th comes and goes?
Well, she ran for president and she failed badly. She never even made it to Iowa. She started off, she had a little name value and came from a large place, as you know, from California, and she had a little name value. And the name value didn't last long because she ended up dropping like a rock as soon as people got to know her. She was decimated in debates by Tulsi, I know, really hit her hard, and some others really hit her hard, and she was decimated in the debates. She was by far the nastiest to Joe Biden. That's why I was so surprised that he took her. There was nobody nastier than her. She played the race card at a level that you rarely see, and she really was very nasty to him, and then he picked her. So I don't get that exactly. Now they act like they're great friends, but you don't really recover from that. I would not recover very easily from that. I wouldn't have picked her. I think she is going to be, hopefully, frankly, for this country, I think similar things are going to happen as happened to her before. She's been on the big stage. She started off at a high level for false reasons. Nobody really knew who she was. And within a period of 4 weeks and 5-6 weeks in, she was decimated, and she never made it to Iowa, the first state. Never even came close to me. She went down to practically zero. So if she campaigns that way now, and this is only going to be tougher, although she does have a lot of support from the fake news, there's no question about that. But if she campaigns the way she campaigned then, I suspect she won't be too tough. Thank you.
And as a reminder, that is star one if you would like to ask a question. Our next question will come from Henry Rogers with Daily Caller. Please go ahead.
Hey, Mr. President, thank you for doing this. I always appreciate it.
Hi, Henry.
I wanted to touch off of what Bill said. How important is this debate with Kamala Harris to you? I mean, if you had to do it with ABC, would you do it, or is it a done deal with ABC?
Well, I haven't agreed to anything. I agreed to a debate with Joe Biden, but I want to debate her, and she'll be no different because they have the same policies. I think debating is important for a presidential race. I really do. I think that you have to you sort of have an obligation to debate. If you're the candidate of the Republican Party, it is a two-party system. I mean, there's no such thing as three-party in the system. It's just a two-party system, plain and simple, and it was designed that way, and that's the way it is. And I think if you're the Democrat nominee or the Republican nominee, you really have an obligation to debate. So I think it's very important.
And our next question will come from Alex Leary with Wall Street Journal.
Thank you, Mr. Trump. You've talked a lot about mass deportations.
Hi,
How do you plan to arrest millions
Yes.
of people with just 4,000 ICE officers to do those arrests? And secondly, you've made your vice presidential pick, but now that you know Kamala Harris is going to be your opponent, would you have possibly gone in a different direction had you known that?
No, I do the same pick. I think he's doing really well. He's really caught on. And as to your first question, I'd be using local police. Would use the local police. They know everything about the criminals, and you'd certainly start with the heavy-set criminals. Look, we have murderers being dropped in. We have drug lords being dropped in. Our local police have to be allowed to do their job. They want to do their job. They're strong. They're smart. They love our country, and they'll do a great job. They know their middle name. They know everything about them. And we'll work with the local police to root them out of the communities. We have killers that have been left in, and frankly, we have terrorists. Many terrorists have come in too. So I would be working, and we would be working with local police. We have to get the really bad element out as quickly as possible, and I'll be working with Paul and with Brandon, with Tom Homan and everybody, and we'll make the border safe again, and we'll get rid of the criminals that have been deposited in our country. Our country's become a dumping ground for criminals, and we will get them out, and we'll get them out fast.
And our next question will come from Diana Glebova with New York Post. Please go ahead.
Hi, Mr. President.
Hi,
Thank you
Diane.
so much.
Hi. Thank you.
Do you think that President Biden made the decision to drop himself on Sunday, or who do you think was responsible? Do you think Obama had any part?
Well, Obama can't stand him, and he can't stand Obama. Obama had a part because he said he wasn't going to support him. Nancy Pelosi dumped him. They all dumped him, and they said either you get out nice or we're going to go after you, and that's what happened. And he had no choice. There's no question about it. And as you know, I have plenty of friends on the other side too, and he had no choice. He's been a horrible president. He's the worst president we've ever had. This call is about him because he allowed our borders to be open. We had among the best times we've ever had on the border. I took over a bad situation with the border, but it was nothing compared to what it became under Biden, and I was able to fix it. And we built the walls, and we did the Remain in Mexico, and all the different things, and we made it very good. And then I made it really good toward the end. In fact, the famous chart, which I love that chart. The reason I looked to the right during the rally on Saturday, as you know, was to talk about that chart, and that's a very important chart to me for a lot of reasons. But that chart shows that we had our lowest number ever in my last week, and that was done by Border Patrol. In my last week in office, we had the lowest number of illegals coming into our country ever. So it's one of those very sad things. They told him to get out. You're not going to win. I was really beating him badly in the polls. I think it really started with the debate. The debate was really his ending. He was not good at the debate, and I think I was good. Some people say I was very good, but whether I was or not, he was not good. And I think that was the end of Biden, frankly. And I think the politicians, you could call them elites in the party, or you could call them the non-elites, because I think they're generally non-elite. But the people in the party said, you get out. They gave him a chance, and they said, if you don't get out now, we're going to go after you. And that was it. He got out.
All right. Thank you, Mr. President. We are out of time, and that concludes the question and answer period. If you have any additional questions, please email them to Anna Kelly at heykelly@gop.com, and we'll be sure to answer your questions and get it in the right hands. Thank you all for our speakers and members of the press who joined us today. This concludes our call.
And this will conclude today's conference. Thank you for your participation, and you may now disconnect.